YouTube Ozic, go in the Go Nows is back. Today we're going through every NFL team's breakout player, in my opinion, for the 2022 NFL season. Again, every single team we're going to go through. A lot of teams have multiple good options, so I picked out the best one in my opinion. Some teams, it's not so obvious. Our Twitter super followers actually played along. I asked you guys for your breakout players. We'll take a look at those at the end. If you can follow us or super follow us on Twitter, we much appreciate it. A lot of news, rumors, updates, interacting with you guys. Super followers get bonus content and involvement like this video here, so check it out. Like, subscribe to notifications on me, much appreciated. Full NFL coverage here. Cannot wait for the season because I cannot wait for our weekly picks, my favorite part of this channel. I know a lot of yours out there as well, so can't wait for the season. I'll start with the AFC East teams. We're going to start with a little bit of a surprise. I think most of you probably expected me to go with Zach Wilson for the Jets, and very well could have. I think Zach Wilson should take a step up this year. They did a good job supplying him with some more talent. The offensive line should improve as well. So very well could be Zach Wilson. It could be a guy like Elijah Moore, perhaps. I went with Carl Lawson, though. I really like this pick here. And some of you may think Carl Lawson had to have broken out already, right? He's been in the league for a little bit. The Jets gave him a pretty big contract before last season. Again, he got hurt, so we didn't get to see him play. So maybe a lot of you are thinking he's had to have already broken out, but no, not really. He's a pure upside and traits guy. You know, we saw glimpses of it with the Bengals. He hasn't really had super productive years, but you can see what he can become. So he goes to, Salah's defense here, very good at developing, especially defensive linemen. And we're going to see his first year playing with the Jets here. I think he's really going to break out. I think he can have maybe a double-digit sack season here, very possible. So I went with Lawson. Also could agree if you go with Wilson or somebody like that as well. Jets have quite a few of those guys. We're getting ready to break out. I like the Lawson pick there. On to the Patriots. I went with Christian Barmore. Thought about several guys here. Mac Jones almost, I don't know if he can break out as a rookie, but his expectations might be kind of high after what he did as a rookie. So I didn't really consider Mac Jones. Some people would probably go that route. I thought about Ramondre Stevenson, the running back, second-year running back from Oklahoma, who I like a lot. I thought about some pass rushers like Josh Uche, who were waiting to break out, and maybe a guy like Ronnie Perkins. I like that pick at last year at Oklahoma as well. I'm going to go Barmore, though, because Barmore, yeah, we didn't expect a whole lot from his rookie year. It was kind of an upside guy, but I thought he played pretty well as a guy that can move around the defensive line a bit. I feel like he's that big-name player that, that their best player really across their defensive line, not counting the edge rushers. So I'm going to go Barmore. Big step up this year. Then they move him around a bit. He can play nose or D tackle. Pretty versatile what he can do. So I'm going to go Barmore there. I think he takes a big step up this year. I'm so excited to see some of these young guys for the Patriots. Bills, we're with Gregory Rousseau, who was their first-round draft pick a year ago. Yeah, I could go a couple different routes here. I really liked Rousseau for this one. Maybe Oliver is a possibility. I thought about Gabriel Davis as well, but he really broke out at the end of the year, looking at the playoffs as well. He wasn't super productive, so I guess the breakout season could be coming. Could he be a 1,000-yard receiver? I want Rousseau, though, because a lot of upside here. He really got going. I like his involvement in the run game. I like his upside as a pass rusher as well. And you add Von Miller in there with Rousseau in his second year. I think it could really take a step up. I don't think it's out of reach for Rousseau to become an elite pass rusher. I don't think it'll be this year. Not saying that. But he has the traits. I kind of see the glimpses of it, the flashes of it. I think he's a possibility he could become an elite pass rusher down the line here. So looking forward to watching the Bills' young pass rusher here in his second year. And the Dolphins, you got to go with Tua Tagovailoa, healthy right now. Another year learning behind a better-minded offensive staff, perhaps. They improved the offensive line, at least it should be improved. So he shouldn't be running for his life. He shouldn't be getting injured as much before. And, Jalen Waddle in the second year. They get Tyreek Hill. They get Cedric Wilson. They get Mohamed Sanu now. That was just yesterday. He has Mike Gesicki still. So no excuses anymore. Tua should be able to play a little bit better, and I do think he plays a little bit better. I think that offense will simplify things for him. So I thought Tua was a pretty obvious choice here for the Miami Dolphins. For the Commanders, I went with Chase Young. I really just thought about the two pass rushers. I thought about Chase Young, and I thought about Montez Sweat. And this is Chase Young's time here. His first year, he was solid. His rookie year, mainly in run support, was very good for a pass rusher. last year was pretty damn underwhelming. Then he got injured, so who knows? He could have took off, got going at some point there, but it was underwhelming. So I'm expecting a lot this year from him because we need a lot for this guy with this much hype and what he's supposed to be. So I'm thinking a big step up for Chase Young here. Somewhat of an obvious choice. Giants, not so much of an obvious choice. Really thought about quite a few players, but I really thought about Kadarius Toney because what we saw from Kadarius Toney last year, the moments, the flashes, pretty damn good. Maybe a Tyreek Hill type player. I mean, not quite him, but type player and what he can become. Already seen some good moments from camp, some good highlights there. Doesn't mean a whole lot, but I went with Dexter Lawrence, though. It was really tough not to go Toney because I really wanted to. I really wanted to put two guys up here, but that's not the video. Some people may go Daniel Jones. He may step up with the better offensive staff there. It's definitely possible. I went Dexter Lawrence, though, because Dexter Lawrence I was very high on at Clemson. He's already pretty solid. He stops the run at a pretty high level, but I think there's some pass rush opportunity, interior pass rush opportunity where he could grow, and I think he can hit that soon. And I also think he's already good stopping the run. But I think it's not far-fetched. It's not that out of reach for him to be known as one of the better run stoppers in all of football. And I think he can get there right now, really. I mean, they bring in a pretty good run-stopping defense coordinator in Don Martindale from the Ravens, who was always good at developing those defensive linemen with the Ravens, who always had a top-tier run-stopping defense. So I think it's very good for Lawrence here. So I think after this year, he maybe kind of be known as one of the better run-stopping D tackles in football, who's just continuing to get better here. Cowboys went with Kelvin Joseph. Could go at a couple of the interior defensive linemen. Maybe a guy like James Washington. I thought Kelvin Joseph because they need him to step up here. They need him to. I like this tape a lot out of Kentucky. So I like what he can become. I guess the off-the-field issues got cleared up. That was kind of recently. So he's good to go. He's got to have a strong camp and maybe take over as that other corner opposite of Diggs. So we'll see what Joseph's got. I think the talent's in there. I know people maybe starting to forget about him because we didn't really see him last year in the off-the-field issues, but the talent is definitely in there, so let's see it here. So I went with Joseph for the Cowboys for those reasons. Eagles probably thought I was going to go with Jalen Hurts, and Jalen Hurts definitely could take a step up this year. Just how much of a step up? I mean, maybe more expectations with somewhat better weapons. A.J. Brown be the main one there. Does Hurts really break out though? I don't know. I think again he could be a little bit better. I thought Kenneth Gainwell. Why? Because I thought he looked pretty solid of a weapon for them, especially down the stretch. For the Eagles last year. Another reason, Eagles run the football. All right, they get creative running the football. They're going to use several backs. Now we got Gainwell, who's kind of a hybrid back in his second year. Perfect for this offense. The reason they took him. I think he's going to be used a lot more than people think, and he's going to be that weapon. So I like Gainwell for the breakout player here. Milton Williams is another guy I thought about because I really like Milton Williams. There's just that defensive line room is just so damn crowded. Williams is pretty versatile, though, so I did think about him as well. Ravens, very, very, very obvious choice in Rashad Bateman, who is looking like their best receiver right now, and they need a receiver to step up. And Bateman was a pretty damn good prospect that I liked. I think everyone liked a lot out of Minnesota. Guy that can play the slot or the outside, knows how to get open, very good hands as well. So it's a guy they need. They need to step up. I think he will. So a very obvious choice here of Bateman and the Ravens. Looking forward to see if if he lives up. Is he the receiver one there? Will he be? I think he should be. Browns next. One with Jedrick Wills, their offensive tackle, who played pretty solid his rookie year. Not so great last year, dealing with some things, some injuries. Back on track this year. I think he starts to look like that top pick that he was. So I think he could be their breakout guy. A couple of the receivers maybe. Not a huge Anthony Schwartz guy. Donovan Peoples-Jones, maybe. It just depends on who's throwing the ball. That definitely plays a part. We don't really know at this time. Maybe we know soon that people are starting to talk about the Watson situation. So maybe by the time you're listening to this, it's already came out what happened there. But Delpit's a possibility as well. How much they use him? Do they go back to Ronnie Harrison starting at strong safety? They use Delpit in the slot mainly. Some questions there. I went with Wills. Thought that was a good option there for the Browns. Steelers were Alex Highsmith. Steelers didn't really have any completely obvious ones. I mean, you could go Devin Bush, who looked pretty good as a rookie, then kind of went downhill. I went Highsmith, though. Highsmith, his rookie year, looked pretty good down the stretch. Didn't see a whole lot of him. I think people kind of hyped him up a bit too much just basically because of a PFF grade off of a 2-sack season, which was odd. And so there was more expectations than what he did last year, even though he was solid. So I think maybe this year, learning more from Watt, maybe more teams scared of Watt after what he did last year, Highsmith kind of can break out and kind of get more productive this year on what maybe the expectations were last year. So I went Highsmith for the Steelers for those reasons. Bengals, I went with Jackson Carman, who was their rookie guard last year, and it was, he was a tackle, moved to guard, kind of got going late. So I still think he has upside learning that guard position and he can be a solid guard. So, and then on top of that, more experience, more playing time, more learning at the position. But on top of all of that, the Bengals made that off. We think they made that offensive line better. It feels more like a legit unit. Not that it's great, but a legit unit right now. And that everyone feeds off each other when it comes to the offensive line unit. So that also could help him play better, improve, and things like that. So I went with Carman there. Thought of that was really the only one. Maybe a Drew Sample. Maybe we expect Hurst to be the guy. Maybe somehow Sample's the guy. It's very possible. There's a guy like Joseph Asai, but it's almost like he's a rookie, so it's kind of hard to pick a guy like that, but excited to watch him. The Lions had quite a few options. I want Jeff Okudah. It's got to be Jeff Okudah. Healthy. When he was healthy, he was underwhelming, but it still was too early to tell. But the reason why you have to go Okudah, look at all the young corners in today's NFL. Specifically, look at the corners from that draft class where he was supposed to be the best guy. They are thriving. They are very successful right now. Those are the guys that are kind of fitting cornerback in today's NFL. So Okudah's got that talent. He's got to be that guy. So I went with Jeff Okudah here. A little risky because maybe they don't even start him because Aurorie's definitely got a starting job, you would think. And then Jerry Jacobs looked pretty solid for the Lions last year. I know they can move these guys around a bit, maybe play somebody in the slot. But Okudah's got to be that guy. I thought about a couple of the second-year defensive linemen, mainly Lee McNeil, because I think the Lions added a bunch of D linemen. I mean, they actually kind of have a crowded young room, and they have kind of guys that can move around a bit. But true nose tackles, I really feel like it's mainly Lee McNeil. I don't think somebody's going to take that job from him at all. So I thought about him. A couple young guys. DeAndre Swift could have been one as well. He's got to stay healthy. Same with Okudah, I suppose. But I went with Okudah just because those corners are taking over. So it's his time. He's got to take over. Like, it's crazy that all those guys that were behind him are ending up legit, like really, really good. I mean, there's several guys, mainly looking at Terrell and Diggs, and it'd be crazy if all those guys are successful working out and Okudah can't figure it out. It'd be pretty wild. So wishing the best for Okudah. Hopefully as a starter. Next up, the Bears. I mean, you got to go Justin Fields here. It's going to be a little tough because they didn't give him the best supporting cast, but it's actually starting to get better. They trade for N'Keal Harry. They add Riley Reif. They add Michael Schofield. And these are giant names and for sure options to make Fields better. But the Bears did get better with those players. So this is the opportunity. And I mean, if Fields even looks decent, with not the best supporting cast, I mean, that's a breakout season that looks pretty damn good. But what he needs to do is maybe get the ball a little quicker, go through his reads a little faster, and then take care of that football fumble a little bit last year. I think he'll do that. We saw a lot of fumbles last year. That's alarming, but I could see him really clean that up this year. So went with Fields here. Excited to watch him. Excited to watch all these second-year quarterbacks this year. The Vikings went with Amir Smith-Marset here, actually. Kind of not a huge name. He was their rookie receiver last year at Iowa. Could absolutely fly. And if you remember, he played in 3 games last year down the stretch of the season. He had 2 touchdowns. The last game of the year, he had over 100 yards. So they kind of got him going. It's like, all right, maybe this guy can get... Yeah, maybe he's something. He's probably their 4th receiver behind obvious Jefferson and Thielen. Then you have Osborne. But bringing in Kevin O'Connell, want to pass the ball a lot. We saw how many receivers the Rams use. You got the possibly top-tier speed in Amir Smith-Marset and what he did down the stretch and what he showed. That maybe we got a sleeper here. Maybe we got a big-time sleeper here for the Vikings in that receiver unit. So went with him. Packers went Allen Lazard, and you could say maybe he broke out a little bit already. What has he been? He's been a 500 to 600 yard receiver, maybe a little bit more. But I'm starting to, I'm really jumping on the Lazard train just all of a sudden. I think he can be, without Devontae Adams there, I think Lazard's easily the number one option for the Packers for this year. I know the future looks like Watson and maybe Doubs too. Romeo Doubs could be sneaky, but Lazard could very, very easily be a 1,000-yard receiver this year, and that would be him breaking out because he really hasn't been that guy yet at all. Kind of got to stay healthy, obviously, but I'm starting to feel Lazard. I'm starting to like the idea here. Could go with a couple of defensive backs as well. Darnell Savage, who's been kind of gives us those flashes, but needs to be a little more consistent. That secondary looking extremely strong right now. That could help him. Look at a guy like Eric Stokes as well. Guys like that, possibilities. But all of a sudden, this recent feeling, Lazard maybe goes 1K this year. Safest bet to be the Packers' best receiver here in 2022. The Colts went Kwity Paye. I thought about the other edge rusher in the same draft class, Dayo Odeyingbo. I really like his upside. Maybe still trying to get there, but got to be Kwity Paye here. Him with Yannick Ngakoue. That is the pass rush duo looking pretty good as long as they, as long as Paye develops here and gets going. So with him, could go. Yeah, I really liked Paye for this one here. I didn't really have to think too much. Quite a few young guys in that team that could really step up, but maybe Paris Campbell gets going and stays healthy. I won't Paye though. I like Paye for the Colts. The Titans went with Dylan Radins, their offensive lineman. The Titans didn't really have a lot of obvious options. Radins looks like he's got to be a starter, whether it's right tackle or guard. I liked him as a tackle coming out of North Dakota State. Titans kind of floating an idea of maybe playing him at guard, but he had to play left tackle, and I think it was that Niners game last year where he looked pretty solid. So I do like him at tackle. I think it's a strong possibility they go there, him there. They could go a guy like Jamarco Jones at guard, or maybe Frere plays right tackle, Radins plays left guard. It's a possibility. So, but either way, I think he could be a breakout guy. I think he plays solid, maybe better than what people were expecting because the glimpses we saw of him last year in his rookie year, pretty solid, really. So, no really glaring obvious one for the Tennessee Titans there. Jags, talk about glaring and obvious. This might be the one here of the video. Here, got to go Trevor Lawrence here, and it's some of these other second quarterbacks, like you say, it's got to be like he has to break out. Lawrence has to break out, but I really, really, really do a high percentage chance that he actually does break out and plays pretty damn well. A little disappointing last year. Did have some drops from his receivers. The offense wasn't being run very well at all. A lot of long, deep, developing routes. You kind of go back and look. It's like you're not helping your quarterback, especially like I saw in like third and short situations. So a better offensive mind in Doug Peterson, who's been there, won a Super Bowl. He's done all this stuff. I think that's big time for Trevor Lawrence. They got some better weapons in there for him. Offensive line, I think, should improve by default. Lawrence is still a prospect. He's still a top-tier prospect. So I think it's a wash of what happened last year. Wiped that away. I think a big step up for Trevor Lawrence this year, and he definitely should break out, kind of show us what we thought he can become here. Texans, I like Brevin Jordan for this one a lot. Gave us some glimpses down the stretch last year, some flashes, and it's really his job now at tight end. It felt like, they never had a great tight end recently, but it felt like they had a number of guys like, okay, that guy could be a tight end one, that guy could be a tight end one. They can mix and match, play them all. And now it just really feels like this is Brevin Jordan's job here, and he's a very athletic, new school type of tight end. He can, move around a bit. So I really think, and they're a little thin at receiver too. So, getting Jordan his targets because he is kind of like a receiver, athletic receiving type of tight end. I think he will get his targets for those reasons I just explained. So, and you could go Davis Mills here. The reason I didn't go Davis Mills was because it is a little weird with him because he was better, much better than expected last year, where it's like, maybe the expectations might be a little high. People are expecting him to improve off that small sample size we saw, where it's I kind of could see it either way. I can see him doing that. I can see him saying the same, or I can see it being like, all right, maybe we just didn't see enough last year. Maybe he isn't, quite as that. I could see multiple scenarios with him, so it's a little tricky. But I like Brevin Jordan for this one a lot. Saints going to go with Pete Werner. They're very good with developing their linebackers. And he was starting to get going too down the stretch as well. He looked pretty solid his rookie year. So I think, him with Demario Davis, I think Werner really gets going here. Peyton Turner's another option, I suppose. I liked Werner for this one. Felt pretty good about that. Maybe a couple offensive linemen. Maybe a guy like Cesar Ruiz, maybe that's a possibility. But again, I felt pretty good about Werner. Debo maybe, but maybe almost broke out as a rookie. But to the Bucks, went with Joe Tryon, Shoyinka. I think this is a pretty clear-cut option here for this one. They drafted him last year to prepare for this moment. I know they played him a bit last year. They mixed and matched with Shaq Barrett and JPP, but it's really Barrett and Joe Tryon here for this year, and he's got the athleticism, he's got the motor, he's got the length, so very excited about him, what he can become there in that Buccaneers defense, which is tough to play against because of the blitz and that defensive front that they have. They stop the run, force you in pass situations, which could up the production for guys like Joe Tryon. So excited about him in his second year. Panthers, one with J.C. Horn, second-year guy. We didn't see a whole lot of him last year. We see these young corners really taking over. See what Patrick Surtain did and what he can become. J.C. Horn was right there with him in that draft class. So this is a guy that very easily, shouldn't say very easily, but it's very realistic that he could become an elite cornerback, and I don't think it's going to take a whole lot to do that. It's not going to be years and years of play. So I think he can break out this year and maybe kind of put himself in the future conversation of that. For sure. Could we go Baker for this? The possibility of Baker for the Panthers as well. The Falcons, Lorenzo Carter. I thought it was very fitting to put him in his Georgia Bulldogs uniform and not the Giants uniform because he was a free agent signing coming from the Giants. But, Georgia and heading to Atlanta here. So, and he was a raw prospect. It's a guy that played a little bit off ball outside linebacker and rushed the edge, and it's teams were like, what is this guy in the NFL? Is he a 3-4 edge rusher or is he an outside linebacker? Don't really know what he is. The Giants had some problems getting their edge rushers going. I know they had Ojulari going a little bit late last year, but they had a stretch of a problem of getting those guys going. And then here you have a raw prospect that really is going to take some time to get going and learn the position fully and put those two together. It kind of makes sense that he's been he's been solid, but it makes sense that he's been a little bit underwhelming or not as productive as maybe you wanted him to be. It makes sense. Now, because of the Falcons, I feel like he's got the job. The Falcons had a pretty big opening in both their edge rush spots, and it looks like they maybe filled that here with the free agency in the draft this past year. So I think Carter can get going. The Dean Pease scheme, I think Dean Pease is a good defense coordinator. So Carter could really get going here. So that's one I like here for the Falcons. Broncos definitely got to go Jerry Jeudy. Could go Javonte Williams. Thought he already broke out his rookie year at the end of the year. Huge Javonte Williams guy. But Jerry Jeudy's been pretty underwhelming so far because what we thought he can be. Now he's got Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson loves throwing down the sideline. Jerry Jeudy loves getting the separation down the sideline. And hitting the deep route with the deep ball. I think it's perfect. So I think Jeudy can get. There's a scenario in my head where it's like, I think all scenarios point, as long as he's healthy, point towards him being much better than he's been. I think all scenarios point towards that, but there's a scenario where maybe he goes a little crazy. Maybe he has that what we thought, that Alabama year, what we thought Jerry Jeudy could be like, very productive. I think that's a possibility. We'll see who Russ likes, if he likes the big group of receivers, because they got a lot there. I'm so excited to watch that. Raiders going to go with Trayvon Mullen. Trayvon Mullen, I'd say about 2 years ago, he was inconsistent. But there was moments I really, really liked from Trayvon Mullen. Like, I love watching corners. I played the position. I feel like I know when guys got it or not. And he had these moments where, like, this guy has it. He's got to put it together, be more consistent. And I did not like the coaching, especially on defense then. They were like too much cover two, getting too obvious, making it tough on their corners. So now Mullen healthy here this year. And they got some competition at corner, I suppose. But Mullen's their best guy, in my opinion. And he has that upside. Let's see if he can reach it. I think with the better coaching, I'm a big Patrick Graham fan. I think Mullen can hit that. I think it's a guy that he really can be. It might be bold, but I'm not predicting him to be this, but he has it in him to be a top, we'll say 15 corner, which he hasn't really been considered anywhere near right now. I think he has it in him. So I'm excited about him. We'll see where he gets to. Chargers, speaking of corners, got to go with Asante Samuel Jr., second-year corner from Florida State. And they had J.C. Jackson. He's got that starting spot. Then you have Michael Davis. You have Asante Samuel Jr. Two guys. We talk about Michael Davis possibly playing in the slot. They both feel like outside corners to me, and they have Bryce Callahan, who's mainly a slot guy as well. They got numbers. So how much will Samuel play? His snaps were limited last year. He looked pretty good, though, but they were limited. I think he gets that increase. I think J.C. Jackson is a playmaker. He finds ways to get his hands on the ball. I think Samuel Jr. could be that same guy. So having two guys out there, maybe throwing away from Jackson, creates for Asante Samuel Jr., so I think he really could step up this year. That secondary is so loaded. That pass rush looks pretty good. These guys should be making plays here. Didn't really think about anybody else here. Is there a linebacker that's going to step up? A young linebacker, whether it's Kenneth Murray, Drew Tranquill, guys like that. Possibility. Sebastian Joseph Day, because he hasn't really broke out yet. He's been solid. Maybe I guess there's some other options there. Chiefs didn't really have any obvious options. I went bold with this one. I went Lonnie Johnson here, who they just got from the Texans, and maybe it's not a guarantee that Lonnie Johnson's going to make the team even, but I'm just really thinking about it, and Chiefs switching things up a little bit on defense. No more Tyrann Mathieu, no more Daniel Sorensen. The corners look a little bit different. They're always a team that, plucks this corner out of here, and he looks pretty solid. It's like, all right, that guy's a little better than we expect him to be. And it seems to be different corners every year for the most part. And he's shuffling in. And Lonnie Johnson can play corner. He can play safety, and he can play in a slot. If you need him to man up on a tight end or whatever it may be, he can do that. And I think the Chiefs are going to use him like that. I think he can even start. It's a possibility he can start at one of those positions depending on where they want to play. Justin Reed, they play him at free safety. Is it Johnson versus Cook for strong safety? Do they like Johnson in the slot? Maybe like a box safety. Do they like, McDuffie outside or inside? Do they want to put Johnson on the outside because they lost Ward? They do have Fenton and Snead. A little inconsistent, so I think Johnson has the ability to start in 3 spots, but I also think he has the opportunity to play in 3 spots depending on the matchup. So this is kind of that matchup guy that they got in there. So maybe a little bold. The obvious choice could have been Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I guess they're the running backs. Has Ronald Jones broken out yet? Probably not. So maybe one of those guys. I think Edwards-Helaire is their guy. Is he going to stay healthy, though? So is it going to be Ronald Jones being their guy? They're going to 50-50 split. So kind of things up in the air. I'm starting to like the idea of Lonnie Johnson in that defense. You're going to get creative with him. They're going to use him in multiple different spots. Cardinals, the obvious choice would have been Isaiah Simmons, who I like a lot. I like what he could become. He kind of didn't really play much his first year. Started to play a little bit down the stretch. Looked all right. Second year, kind of got going a little bit. Need to see a little bit more. He could hit that this year. I think people are hoping Zaven Collins could be a breakout guy. That's a tough one. I went with Hollywood Brown, though, because Hollywood Brown, he's been productive. He's had some big plays pop up here and there. But he has not been really near what we thought he can be, what most of the world thought he can be. And now and that was on a run-first offense, which that really isn't the number one blame. He needed to be better. He needed to catch the ball better. But it was a run-first offense. Now you go to a pass-first offense with his quarterback from Oklahoma, with DeAndre Hopkins out for 6 weeks. This is the time for Marquise Hollywood Brown to break out. I think he does that. I'm starting to feel that a little bit more. I think he'll really get going right out the gate really early on in the year with Hopkins out. So, look forward to watching Hollywood with his guy, Kyler Murray there. Seahawks went with Jordan Brooks. A little tricky because has Jordan Brooks broken out already? Maybe. He was a tackle machine last year. Thought about Darrell Taylor. I like Darrell Taylor a lot. Liked him out of Tennessee. Has he broken out already? He's kind of given us those flashes. So kind of the options here kind of felt like that. Maybe we wish like a guy like Eskridge could break out, get going. Maybe the quarterback play prevents that, maybe. But I went with Brooks because you got Bobby Wagner gone. And when they drafted Brooks, I liked Brooks a lot out of Texas Tech. But I'm like, man, he plays Bobby Wagner's exact role. That's his role. And then you have Bobby Wagner and Brooks in there. And Brooks did pretty solid with that. But now he is the guy of the linebacker position. He is the Seahawks defense there in the middle. He's Bobby Wagner now. So I think he could break out, do a little bit more, maybe be a little bit more of a playmaker as well. So for those reasons, I thought it made sense to go with Jordan Brooks, even though you could argue maybe he slightly broke out already. The Niners went with Javon Kinlaw. I didn't go Trey Lance. I think people would go Trey Lance, but it's almost like he's a rookie. It's how could you break out when you're just getting going? I think we can use Trey Lance next year, maybe, perhaps. So I really thought about 2 guys. I thought about Javon Kinlaw, who I went with, and I thought about Aaron Banks, actually. There's the second-year offensive lineman from Notre Dame who's kind of a bully of a blocker. Need to see more of him, but that offensive line, it's kind of wide open there on the inside. Banks has got to step up. He's got to be that guy. I think he's going to start. So I think he really fits Shanahan ball too. So, kind of the bully run game where they really get going on teams. So I thought about Banks here. I went with Kinlaw, though, because Kinlaw been a little disappointing so far, but that was really due to an injury last year. But I mean, the Niners are just so good at developing defensive line. I mean, they might be the very best in football. They're so good at it. And you got Kinlaw, who's a freaky dude with a lot of upside. He's a guy that can play D tackle or nose tackle if you need him to, because he's just that type of guy. Just so much upside. I really don't care about the injury last year. And it's the 49ers, and they let guys go because of this guy right here. So I think this is his time to go, and I think he will break out for those reasons. Just we want to see him stay healthy, and probably stay off of other people's podcasts and shows. That would be good too. Rams, I'm going to go Ernest Jones, the linebacker, who we started to see a little bit more at the end of last year and looked pretty good. It is tough because the Rams you won't see them give out a whole lot of snaps to linebackers. I guess you'll see them give a variety of linebacker snaps, but they don't give out a whole lot of, I guess, a whole lot total. They don't really value the linebacker position a whole lot, and it's tough because they do have Bobby Wagner, so maybe they are valuing a little bit more now. If you get Bobby Wagner, got him on a cheap deal though, so it is a little tough. So how much playing? That's why I was a little risky putting Ernest Jones here, because how much playing time will he actually get? But playing with Bobby Wagner and the flashes he gave as a young player last year, and again, if you look at what they were doing, they were playing him more and more as it went on. So I went with Ernest Jones here. Thought about Tutu Atwell, but that was kind of more of hoping. They got I don't know if they really love using him a lot, and they have, I know it's only his second year, other receivers in there as well. Do they bring OBJ? If they don't bring OBJ back, maybe we go Tutu Atwell here. Maybe we go that route. But man, they were playing Skoranek more than him, which was odd. But and I thought about putting Cam Akers in here, but I thought that was kind of cheating because it's tough. He hasn't really broke out production-wise, but that's because we haven't seen the full Cam Akers. He was hurt last year, so I thought it was okay going in. But running backs are so simple to see. Like, I don't think you need a full season to break out, really. I think you just, if they got it and they don't, and I think we've seen that Cam Akers has it. So in a way, you could say he broke out already. So that was a tough one there for the Rams. Maybe a corner has to step up for them with Darius Williams gone. Rochelle, maybe he's the guy that it could be it. It's a little tough. Rams are a little tricky sometimes to figure out exactly who's going to start, who's going to get the snaps. They're one of those. I've noticed that actually that they're one of those defenses that you don't know what they're throwing at you there, and they've been good. So that is those are my breakout players, and I want to see some of our super followers. The super followers get kind of involvement like this, and they get exclusive content, bonus rankings, more and more to come during the season. So IMCC here, Aiden, and a bunch of numbers. One of our super followers I like this. He gave me all. I just asked for one really, but maybe I wasn't specific with that. But he gave me all 32, which I like. I like seeing other people's opinions and see which ones match up. I know he's a Colts guy. The Colts were in here somewhere. And he had Isaiah Rodgers, which is a good one, too, because we've seen glimpses from Isaiah Rodgers. And that's actually a pretty good one, too, because we don't really know exactly what the Colts are going to do. Like, they're going to play Gilmore and Kenny Moore on the outside. They maybe play a guy like Rodgers or somebody else on the inside. Kenny Moore has been an inside guy, though. They play Rodgers on the outside, facing possibly. So I do like that one. Aiden Weingartner seems like he's a Bills guy here, and he gave us some options. And I went with Greg Rousseau, so we're on the same page there. And I did actually mention Oliver and Davis. I considered Singletary would be a bold one because does a guy like James Cook take some snaps away from him? We'll see. But I do like the picks of Gabe Davis and Ed Oliver as well. But we're on the same page with Rousseau. Premises Packers guy, I think A.J. Dillon goes over 1K. That's a little bold, but I kind of can see it. A.J. Dillon's been so good so far, and they were kind of gearing towards A.J. Dillon last year. But was that because they were playing it safe with Jones because he kind of had some tweaks here and there? So I kind of like the bold pick there. Eric Stokes, I talked about him being an opportunity there. In Savage, I talked about that. The secondary being so much stronger, and it's been really strong. Those guys, it could help those guys a bit there. Big ounce goes Nico Collins for the Texans. Yeah, I went Brevin Jordan, but though some receiver needs to step up, and there's not, Mechie being out for the whole year is unfortunate, but outside of Brandon Cooks, is there really an obvious guy? It would probably be Nico Collins, so Nico Collins can step up here. So I think that's a good pick as well. Cameron Sutter, Bengals guy. Some good options. Yeah, I went with the lineman, Jackson Carman. Eli Apple was actually played a little bit better with the Bengals last year. So if could he continue that and play a little bit better, then everyone's like, all right, maybe this is the Eli Apple that was a first-round pick, and because everyone's been making fun of the guy for some time. So I could see that. Akeem Davis-Gaither is kind of a unique type of linebacker. So I can see that as well. Same with Joseph Ossai. So I think between one of those guys, Davis-Gaither and Ossai, who are a little bit different, though. Ossai is more of a pass rusher, but we've seen him play in college off-ball linebacker. Davis-Gaither is an off-ball linebacker that we've seen him in college rush off the edge a little bit, get creative. So I think between one of those versatile guys, I think one of them has a pretty good year, maybe better than expected. I'd probably go Ossai. Those are good picks, though. Some questions there. Then Christian L. Goes Thomas Graham Jr. if he starts to over Tavon Young in the nickel. And that's a good one there from the Bears fan here, because they got, and Tavon Young has been a pretty good nickel. I think he's likely the starter week 1, unless injury, which you hate to say that, but injury's been a problem. So then they go Thomas Graham Jr. in the slot. They drafted Kyler Gordon, who I like out of Washington. It's a guy that you can see by his play style he probably can play a slot. I just don't see it. I think he play outside. And they have Jalen Johnson, who's been solid for them. But it was weird, like to start OTAs, they did not actually have Jalen Johnson starting. I believe they had Gordon already and then Thomas Graham. So I think they like those guys. And Graham had to fill in last year. They got really thin at corner because of injuries in a game late last year. And Thomas Graham held it down, and he played pretty good down the stretch. So, actually a pretty good situation. The Bears corners aren't, they're a little maybe underrated. They got some guys there. So I like that one very much. I wanted to make sure if there was any more that I missed here. I don't think so. So these are the guys. We got more super flowers than that. They all didn't participate at the time of recording this video, but we'll have more things like that, keeping you guys involved, polls. I posted trade scenarios for them and things like that. So if you want to sign up to be a super follower, it'd be much appreciated. If you just want to follow us on, normally on Twitter, would really appreciate that as well, because we got a lot going on there, a lot of news, updates, and more. We're always active during NFL games, so check us out. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on our channel here, because we got full NFL coverage. Cannot wait for our in-season stuff. Cannot wait for football season in general. College and NFL right around the corner. That is going to do it for this one, though. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Goodbye.